History is not a machine that runs on fixed rails. It is a fragile system. Pull one pin and the whole track bends into darkness, turning the world you recognize into something unrecognizable. This is the invasion force of June 6, 1944. In our timeline, it is the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. But in this reality, the German military is not surprised. They have reinforced the bluffs with 11 new gun emplacements and thousands of mines. The landing at Omaha Beach is annihilated in 90 minutes. The geopolitical collapse follows the military one. Churchill resigns, Britain signs a humiliated armistice, and France is divided into 5 administrative zones. Paris becomes a city of German checkpoints, sandbag barricades, and identity cards issued by the Reich Security Main Office. Within months, the new borders aren't just lines on a map. They are checkpoints where people wait for rations, show their papers, and return to work. The administration is no longer an invasion. It is the daily reality. This map shows the systematic erasure of the old world. Poland vanishes, replaced by administrative districts called gaus. The Reich manages its territory through typed paperwork and standard bureaucratic folders, reducing the ongoing murder of millions to a series of filed memos. In Berlin, Albert Speer constructs Germania to physically dwarf the individual. His Great Hall of the People is designed to hold St. Peter's Basilica with room to spare. The boulevards are 300 meters wide, engineered specifically so that a person walking them feels small and erased. America, meanwhile, enters a period of prosperous isolation. Following Roosevelt's death, the political establishment treats the situation in Europe as a settled fact. News coverage stops, school curricula change, and the nation chooses to ignore the occupation in favor of its own economic boom. By 1950, the Reich is sustained by 2 forces: the meticulous filing of reports in Berlin and the silence of an American public enjoying its new television sets and 2-car garages. To counter this massive machine of subtraction, the resistance develops its own arithmetic, small, calculated acts of addition performed by individuals in the dark. In Paris, a baker named Celeste spends years scooping a daily hollow out of the bottom of her loaves. She slips folded resistance messages into the bread, handing them right past the German officers who buy their lunch at her counter every afternoon. In London, Peter Cairns waits for a 45-minute maintenance window at midnight to broadcast American jazz. He puts prohibited music into the air on a secret frequency, relying on the faith that someone, somewhere, built a receiver to listen. Beneath the streets of Warsaw, Jakob Lieberman solves differential equations by candlelight in a section of the municipal sewer. His father teaches him mathematics because the theorems are the same underground as they are above. Numbers do not require German authorization. Resistance is kept alive through these small, obstinate acts.
Before any grand revolution can happen, it relies on ordinary people choosing to do things the machine says are impossible. In 1962, John F. Kennedy ends 2 decades of silence. He stands in the Senate and directly connects the injustice of the Holocaust to America's own domestic civil rights struggles, forcing the country to acknowledge that its prosperity was built on looking away. Internal pressure mounts when Adolf Hitler dies in 1965. The Reich's centralized power structure fractures. Heinrich Himmler and the SS move to seize control from the Wehrmacht generals. This succession war creates the exact vulnerability the underground has waited a generation for. This intersection of international pressure and internal chaos creates a fleeting opportunity for action. The arithmetic of the small-scale resistance finally meets a moment where the macro machine is failing. In 1969, an alliance of defectors, spies, and survivors meets in a Swiss basement to plan Operation Last Eagle. Their goal is the destruction of the Reich's nuclear arsenal hidden in the Austrian Alps. This diagram outlines the brutal calculus of the mission. They must extract the technical archives to prevent the weapons from being rebuilt, while simultaneously setting charges on Level 3. They know the SS Guard detachment was reinforced, and the team will take immediate casualties. The team detonates the shaped charges, erasing the nuclear devices,
and stripping the SS of their ultimate military leverage in the Succession War. Neutralizing the nuclear site demands the sacrifice of specific, named individuals who accept the cost of the mission. The calculated actions of the team inside the facility succeed where decades of rhetoric failed. The Wehrmacht moves against the SS, civil war breaks out in Berlin, and the French resistance finally removes the swastika from the Eiffel Tower. This is a courtroom at the Frankfurt trials. Prosecutors target the industrial conglomerates and pharmaceutical companies that used slave labor and profited from the occupation. The trials show that the infrastructure of the Reich extended into the boardrooms and banks of the civilian world. Reclaiming a society after such a collapse requires the prosecution of the economic and political enablers who quietly managed the horror from behind their desks. In 1971, Jakob Lieberman emerges from the Warsaw sewers and finds that the Jewish quarter has been paved over by German architecture. The city he remembers from his father's stories no longer exists. The physical walls are gone, but Jakob finds himself in a city scrubbed clean of his past. He is alive, yet everything he was supposed to return to has been erased. By 1975, a new generation in Berlin begins to look at the wreckage. A 12-year-old girl named Anna Hoffman opens the first history book printed without Reich oversight and reads the first line. This is what happened. History does not protect itself. Looking away is all it takes to bend the world into darkness, and keeping it on track requires the active, constant vigilance of people willing to see the truth.